YouTube. I got a lot of cool stuff. Some stuff from the Middle East came in, complications, old complication, new complication, all kinds of cool stuff. You may want to stay tuned for this one. I'm going to jump right into it with Rolex. So here we have what I want to call a very pretty dial. It's no secret that Rolex dials tend to discolor. And this watch is from, let's see, this watch is 13 years old. And what ends up happening is oftentimes color of the dials will tend to change. And a lot of people will say, oh my God, the color of the dial changes because the watch was out in the sun or something. Actually, majority of the color changes take place when the watch is sitting for a prolonged amount of time in the dark. I don't even know how this happened, but this watch is actually still has a sticker in the back. So it looks like it's an NOS watch that's set for quite a while. And therefore you get a really, really cool dial that you won't find at your local Rolex dealer. Pretty Rolex, I like the dial. Let's go to, I've been curious what the hell this is, and I don't know who got this, but I'm guessing it's another one of those clocks that Adrian is gonna kill me over. Oh, lo and behold, it is a clock. It's a little winding key. Imagine walking around with one of these, your pocket watch back in the day. Wow. I'm not even sure who this is by. I do know that this has, I'm gonna need a loop for this, because I think this is the Omani Army Royal Crest, and don't quote me on this. I'm not even sure who made this. So I'll get back to you on that one. But here you go, it's a cool clock. Look at that, and then this. And ASMR, winding. Anyway, now it's working. I'm not gonna show it to Adrian for now, because if I do, I think all hell will break loose. So we'll leave that to the side and move on to some seemingly Patek Philippe, but it's not. These boxes that come from the factory for Patek are actually very convenient to apparently pack Jaeger Lecoultres in. Top 10 most iconic model of watches ever made. I think the Jaeger Lecoultre certainly deserves to be part of that pack. If you guys aren't familiar with the Reverso, it does exactly what it does. Reverso, originally created back in 1931, I believe, don't quote me on that particular date. It was created in order to protect the watch from the outside elements, for it not to get broken. So these are duos, i.e. there's a watch on either side, but the original ones had a solid back on one side and functionality on the other side. The case at the time was patented. I did a whole video on the history of Reverso. I don't forget how many parts, but it's the only watch where a case comprises of multitude of parts. I think 26 in the modern, and I think the original was 19 parts. Again, don't quote me on that. I'm sure you can just Google that. People always ask me, hey, what do I have in my collection? And you know, everybody tends to say, it's funny, everybody says they start with a Omega Speedmaster. That's usually like the first one to go to, then some sort of a Rolex. Jaeger Reverso is something that people tend to put on that list when you're talking about just a specific model. We have another Cartier. This is the Cartier Santos mid-size. Some will say ladies, some will say men's. There are guys out there that, you know, there's been a craze as of late of guys wearing smaller watches, like Kanye wore the Crash. You saw Tom Brady wear a 3800 Patek Philippe with a white dial, which is a small 36mm. I believe this is like a happy medium. It's still the small look, but it's not, if that makes sense, because the watch is quite thick. Usually the watch tends to look a lot smaller when the case is very, very thin. So what happens is you can go to a Cartier Santos midsize, which is neither here or there. You sort of get the small look, but you don't get the small feel once that thing is on your wrist. Richard Mille, 6701. We just had this thing in rose gold. This is titanium, super light. Whoever put her on a big pink strap, guys, thoughts on a pink strap?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's a move.
I think it's a look. I mean, the baby blue, let's see. I mean, the baby blue is definitely a look too. One of those in the middle watches, one of those lifestyle watches from Richard Mille. I feel like, I mean, I hate to use this in the same sentence, but it's like a bit of a low-key flex from Richard Mille, right? Everybody is familiar with the tonneau shaped watches from RM, i.e. the RM11s. The 01s, the 02s, the 03s, whichever ones they are, that's like the real flex. It still carries the tonneau shape, but it's a lot more subdued, and it's also pretty versatile, a watch that can go with a suit or a pair of shorts. So yeah, this is one of those low-key watches that are going to make a statement, especially if you want to go low-key, put on a black strap, not a pink one. But nevertheless, I guess it's a look. Not for everyone, but it's definitely for Miami, that's for sure.
Great.
You know what? Let's go to a green box because you know that's my favorite brand, and that's going to be an Audemars Piguet. Honestly, I feel like at this point, I can say as much about these Royal Oaks as I can about a 𝗵𝗄𝗃 GMT, just because again, it's one of those. I hate to use the word run-of-the-mill. Let's use the word regular sellers, right? That come through here probably daily or every other day and so on and so forth. And because of the recent correction on pricing across all Royal Oaks, because the prices were absolutely ridiculous a year ago, we're starting to see a big uptick in sales in Royal Oaks, whether it's an automatic, whether it's a chronograph, black dial, blue dial, doesn't really matter because I hate to say they've become affordable, but let's just say they've become a lot more affordable. What we're seeing now is the guys that didn't buy before the prices went crazy, didn't want to buy when they felt that the price points were crazy, and they were sort of waiting out to say, hey, I want the prices to come back down to earth. They still didn't come down to, and they won't come down to where they were before the craze started, but certainly it's gotten to a time where people are like, okay, it seems reasonable. I've always wanted this watch, so now I'm gonna go ahead and buy it. When you get these old school boxes, you know you're about to pull out something cool. Not necessarily, but you might. And in this case, very fancy box. I gotta show the box. Look at this box. Look at this box. How cool is that? Now, what's even cooler is, see, this is going back to the days where Rolex actually cared about packaging. Because if you look at these boxes, they're so generic. But look at what you used to get. Look at that. You get a whole folio where you can make your little notes. Look at that. Nobody actually made any notes in this. Note to self. Buy more Batgirls. No. So you get a cool Rolex pen. Look, there's a pen on it. One of the things that I have done in the past and other dealers done in the past, when you get a box like this, the first thing you tend to do is to pull on this tab to open it. That's decorational. And a lot of these old boxes, they come with this thing is ripped because people are doing this where it's just this. And speaking of just this, look at this presentation. Look at this beautiful box. Nice wood, nice leather, this little insert that pulls out that you can actually set on top of your dresser. I mean, there was a lot of thought put into this, and this thing is like a time capsule. So it's a 18348, talking about a diamond bezel model. And this was original punch papers purchased in 1991. Is anybody standing in front of me with a camera born before 1991? Oh, you were born in 1991? Yeah. Look at that. It's your birth year watch, Sarah. What we have here is an NOS, and you guessed it, it's a Khanjar logo Rolex, and it really is NOS. Look at this. Like when this watch was bought, it was probably given as a gift, and with tags and all, somebody threw this in the back of the safe without ever touching it. There's even a sticker here, like on a bracelet, and zoom in, you'll see the Khanjar logo in the back. We had a similar NOS Khanjar without the diamond bezel, diamond dial with the logo on top. This has the logo in the back. It's probably one of the first Rolexes that started doing with the logo in the back instead of the dial. Rarely do I come across pieces such as this, especially like, it's got everything. Like all the books, the wallets, handkerchief, I mean, the boxes. Go back to these boxes, Rolex, because you gotta make people feel that they bought something really special, not just with the watch, but a box like this is something that's gonna go in the back of the closet, attic, or basement. A box like this, you can actually display. Like I would put this up on a shelf in my library, just the outer box alone, not to mention the inner box and so on and so forth. So yes, Rolex, please go back to that. Another old Rolex box. Let's see what's in here. I'm gonna guess a lady's watch based on the size of the box. And we talked about special dial watches. So this is a stone dial Rolex. Looks NOS because it still has the original sticker in the back, but look at the bezel and look at the dial. I don't even know what the reference number on this is, but it's an older ladies I'm not sure what stone this is. Probably one of the, they did these things called the Crown Collection, the Royal Collection, and so on and so forth. These were heavily encrusted diamond pieces from back in the day. A lot of it went to the Middle Eastern market, and I think this is one of those things. I will have to do more research on that particular Rolex because one of the hardest things to learn is 28mm Rolexes because they made so many different ones and so many over the years that it's like, you talk to Adrian or you talk to Alex and all these kids that are memorizing all these reference numbers, the minute you hit them with 28mm Rolexes, they go, yeah, no. Not as many are selling during their time, so that's why oftentimes they won't know those reference numbers. Should I go through my Wonder Hours spiel again? Ready? Back in the 17th century, the year was 1640 something, I don't remember what, there was a Pope, John the 7th, 8th, or 9th, I don't remember, a lot of them were named John around that time, who had insomnia, he couldn't sleep. He then went out to an Italian watchmaker who made him a clock, and the way that clock worked is it had all these discs spinning inside, and when an oil lamp was lit, the disc would project onto the wall, so in the middle of the night when he was sleeping, wondering, is it really time to get up? When he was sleeping, he can open one eye and say, it's 2:30 in the morning, maybe I should try to still get some sleep, which didn't really work. He still had insomnia. That in turn inspired Audemars Piguet to create the wandering hours, i.e. the star wheel, which you see here. And this is actually a very rare example, a rose with a rose dial. That's one of the more coveted examples of that. Guarantee you back then, he wouldn't even remotely think how much of an inspiration that would be in today's modern world. And of course, AP just re-released the wandering hours, or the star wheel as we call it, for this particular model. And I think they did a knockout job. I have yet to see that watch in person come across my desk. When I do, I know I am very excited to receive one whenever it is that I'll get it, because I think they knocked it out of the park with the remake of that watch. And not a lot of them, I haven't seen any yet personally, which means that people that are buying them are keeping them, which means it's a knockout watch. Very similar to when the Code 1159 was launched. Code 1159 line was launched. They're perpetual with that stardust, beautiful dial. Not a lot of them were out in the secondary market because those that bought them kept it because it's a knockout of a watch. Last but not least, and probably important, Greubel Forsey. Remember a few months back, I always keep telling you guys how it's very hard for me to hold on to watches personally because people tend to buy them off my wrist. Case in point, I was wearing this Journe. I had 5 phone calls to make about this particular Journe because there's 5 people that want it. So keeping things here has become impossible, so I stopped. I gave up. I said, I'm not gonna do it. A few months back, I decided, you know what? I wanna keep a Greubel Forsey. I want a Balancier. I want it in gray, and I kept it for 3 weeks. I can't really blame the client saying like, Roman, well, you'll get yourself another one. Well, when they make 30 of them, it's kind of very tough. What, lo and behold, another one actually came back. Look at this, the presentation. Like look at this. I mean, like companies have to take note on this. You get your own little travel case if you wanna, you know, play watchmaker for the day. I could never do that. I don't know how guys do that and they sit like all day with a built-in travel pouch. And lo and behold, if you remember a couple of months ago, I was wearing a gray dial Balancier from Greubel Forsey, 30-degree incline, blah, 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 the whole to-do. This is part of their line that actually brought them back to market, to which they were a bit late. Greubel Forsey historically made very, very big watches, which were very hard to wear. Lots of complications. They don't make a time-only watch. Everything they've ever made was complicated. Then they came out with the sports line. They became so much more ergonomical, still in a larger size. Now they actually took this line and they slimmed it down to a 42 millimeter or 43 millimeter now versus like 45. So I can't wait to get one of those. But so now the question is, do I say I'm keeping this watch? And the answer is going to be no, because what's the point? Somebody's just gonna want to take it anyway. But I love this Greubel. Josh, if you're watching, remember you wanted to take this off my wrist and you didn't, and somebody else did? Might want to call me on this. So the winner for me is going to be this NOS Day-Date Khanjar. Second place, Greubel, Star Wheel, Richard Mille, and so on. There doesn't need to pick second place. We're just gonna stick with first place. What was your favorite watch and unboxing, both on YouTube and Instagram? Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you on the next one.